I've had people stop me in the street. I'm talking like bald people walk up to me and be like, listen to me, man. You gotta hold on to that hair, all right? And like, we'll just walk away. And I'm like, okay.
It's just a drive-by of like,
yeah,
I can't have it, so you must.
Like, thank you, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Let's be best friends.
Hello, I'm Cole Sauer, and welcome to Let's Be Best Friends, a podcast where I talk to people that I barely know and try and convince them to be my new best friends, because in times like these, who needs enemies? Today on the show, we have Canadian independent professional wrestler and the creator of Backyard Pro Wrestling. We have Vaughn Vertigo.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how are you doing, firstly of all?
Not too bad. I felt like I was going to sneeze, and then it went away, so I'm good, actually.
That would have made for amazing audio. What a way to come into the show.
Yeah, I would have got right up close to the mic and then sneezed into it. That was
We're hitting a whole new audience. We're hitting the ASMR audience now.
Exactly. We're hitting the ASMR audience. Exactly.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here on the show. I love getting specifically the Canadian independent professional wrestlers, because especially right now, I feel like, and I know you can speak to this, I feel like the Canadian indies, they don't get as much love, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's something that's been a very prevalent topic in, especially on Twitter in the past few weeks.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are just starting to go a little stir crazy, but we definitely just want to get back out there and wrestling. But it sucks in one vein to see, you know, all of our friends in America being able to have all these opportunities to wrestle. But on the other hand, we have to keep in mind that, you know, we're in a pandemic here. Like, yeah, there's not much we can really do up here. So I don't know. We all want to get back to it, but we got to do it safely, you know?
Yeah. So where does it stand for you in those terms? Because I know, like you say, like a lot of people want to get back to it. Like everyone wants to get back in the ring and working and doing the thing that they love, but also it is a pandemic. So, you know, we in Canada are all nice and locked down, all cozy in our house for however many years it's been now.
Yes, exactly.
But the Americans are still running shows. So where does it stand for you in terms of like, how does it feel to see that kind of thing going on?
It's a little uncomfortable when I start seeing like multi-man matches, like for the Royal Rumble, for instance. Like everybody loves the Rumble, but I was thinking like there's 30 guys here. Like,
there's a lot of people.
So many people. Yeah. And in theory, if you're in the same bubble, like it might be okay. But you know, the history of wrestlers is not great with hygiene.
Yeah,
in general. So that's concerning. But although like we've done a few shows last year in the summer. Around like August, when we were allowed 100 people outdoors,
right?
And everyone had to be masked and whatnot. And back in the locker room, we had to be masked. In certain cases, we had to wear a mask to the ring and then take them off in the ring, sort of thing. So I don't know. And then there's like the difference between like, is it a film project or is it like are you filming something?
Yeah.
Is this like is this a film or is it wrestling? Like, what do you fall under? So a lot of companies were trying to get away with like, oh, we're filming something because obviously like there's productions in Toronto that are allowed to be filming, right? So, but I don't know. I want to wrestle too, but we just have to wait for the right time. You know, if everyone did get tested previously to having a show, that would be good. But I don't think it's possible to get everybody tested. Yeah, I personally got myself tested after each one I did. So
yeah. It's hard to, and so it's just a hard thing to quantify, right? Obviously, it's like it's hard to get that many people to be like, all right, like no one fake it. Like,
yeah, exactly. So many variables with that.
So I mentioned in the intro that you were the creator of Backyard Pro Wrestling.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that. That's what we're doing today. So for anyone it's your first time watching the show, if whether you're watching it live right now on Twitch or you're watching it later, listening to on whatever podcast service you use, here on Let's Be Best Friends, I like to make sure that the guest feels as comfortable as possible in the goal of becoming best friends. So I like to ask what they want to do. And I thought, and I think it was you who brought it up, the idea of watching some wrestling together. And I can think of no better way than watching like your baby. So tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah, so essentially, Backyard Pro, I wouldn't add wrestling to the end of it because I really don't pertain it under wrestling because it's not supposed to be good wrestling. Yeah, essentially myself and Forza, I backyarded as a kid. He had a kids fight club, which was essentially backyarding. Okay. He won't admit that, but it's kids fight club. Essentially like last April or so, we're like, we should create something for online. So we made this like little like backyard wrestling match in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
But it was like a music video sort of thing. And we just put that out because we're like, oh, this might be fun. And then,
right.
It did pretty well on Twitter. And then I started thinking like, we're kind of making fun of like backyard wrestling here. Like there's been these shows like Southpaw Wrestling that like WWE did. And then is Talking Shop of Mania, which happened after Backyard Pro, but I don't want to get into that. And I just kind of thought like, maybe we can make something of this. And then I put out like a little teaser video on it about, I think I said there's gonna be 10 backyard wrestlers. We were going to film it.
Right.
With no fans and whatnot. And that did really well on Twitter. I was super surprised with how it was received. And that kind of evolved into being more of like a comedy sketch wrestling show than anything.
Right.
More focused on the stories behind it than the actual wrestling, essentially.
Okay. So for those who may not be as in tune to the wrestling scene, tell me a little bit about the difference between what backyarding is and what just like normal independent wrestling is.
Yeah. So backyarding would technically be people who were untrained wrestlers. So myself, 12 years old on my trampoline, giving people suplexes and doing moonsaults off our ring my dad built us. Whereas trained professional wrestlers, you go to school, you go through the training, however long that takes you, 6 months, 3 years in my case, because I started at 14. I was young. So then you get your green light and you're officially allowed to be on wrestling shows. Although some people don't finish wrestling training and still end up on wrestling shows, but that's a gray area. Okay. But you need to finish wrestling training and then get on shows. So
tell me a little bit about, I want to get into the show, but I'm interested. Tell me a little bit about the training process. Cause I know there's a lot of people that even I talk to, I'm like, as just like a fan who I'll be like, oh yeah, like they have to go to wrestling school. And people are always surprised to hear that those exist.
Yeah. I mean, definitely. I didn't really actually know there was one in Toronto until, I knew a guy in my hometown who he was 2 years older than me. And he's like, oh, I'm going to go join this wrestling training. And I was like, wait, there's wrestling training in Toronto? I didn't even know this.
Yeah.
So he took me down with him. I had to get my dad to sign like a waiver because I was too young. So if I got hurt, then, I couldn't sue, or my parents couldn't sue.
If Vaughn breaks his neck, it's not our fault.
Yeah, literally that. Exactly. Yeah. So essentially you start with like learning how to roll, because that's very, even like stunt work and stuff like that, you need to learn how to roll, because if something goes wrong, you can always roll out of the situation, sort of thing. Okay. Like for instance, like if I were to do a dive and the guy didn't catch me correctly and I was coming down straight on my head, like kind of like Undertaker WrestleMania 25.
Yeah.
He kind of like braced himself and rolled.
Yeah.
And that's like the first thing you need to know, because it can save you. And then you learn like technical wrestling, like chain wrestling sort of thing, kind of going hold to hold. And then from there it progresses into how to fall, how to take certain moves, and then it turns into psychology essentially. Okay.
So how long would you say people are like, how long would you say the focus is on the more physical aspect of wrestling before it turns? Cause I don't even know. I know that like the bigger companies have like promo classes and things like that. Is that something that's also at the independent level, or is it mostly focused on here's how you don't kill yourself?
That's definitely don't kill yourself first. Some school, it depends on the school, honestly. Like some schools will focus on promo training as well, but usually that's more of like a later on thing. Right. It's kind of broken up into like beginner, intermediate, advanced sort of thing.
Right.
So character work is usually what comes last, because you need to be able to wrestle safely, and then character work is the hardest thing for most people. So it usually takes the most time to figure out.
Okay. So how long did it take you? Because you said you started really young. So
yeah, I started at 14. Yeah.
So how long did it take you? Because you had all that time to just basically train, right? Because you had to get to a point where you were legally allowed to wrestle.
Yeah, literally. I was in high school, and then people were joining like the hockey team or the curling team, and I wasn't interested in any of that. I was wrestling on weekends, and I didn't really tell people at my school because I knew how it would be received. I knew there's a stigma behind wrestling, and I kept it to myself until after graduation. Not myself. I kept it to my closer friends. Mm-hmm. I completely forgot what we were talking about there. So I got completely sidetracked.
How was it for you, since you had all this extra? Because you say like some people only spend like 6 months in school and then they're on the road. Meanwhile, you're spending like 3.5 or whatever years.
Yeah, I definitely felt like I was like cooped up at one point. I was like, I just want to debut. I just want to debut. But I look myself in the mirror and I'm like 110 pounds. And I'm like, clear, like if I go out in front of the audience now, people are going to like, I'm going to get my ass kicked.
Yeah, there's no credibility there.
So I pretty much did every job I could that didn't involve actually getting physically involved in the sense. Like I reffed, I filmed shows, I did timekeeping and helped set up. I did all the stuff behind the scenes to kind of get myself comfortable. And it was really reffing that got me comfortable with being in the ring because, I'd be in the ring with guys like Josh Alexander and Michael Elgin. And just getting those reps into being comfortable kind of made it easier when I actually debuted in 2013.
Is that a path that like a lot of early wrestlers take? Is that because I know that there's the idea of like you start by like you're building the ring every night and you kind of like pay your dues, that you're selling tickets, you're like selling merch and stuff. So how often is it that reffing is involved in those kind of paying your dues things?
I don't really know. I think they probably just picked me because I was young. Right. And like I took what was it? I took like a big boot from the Blade from AEW once as like a ref. And I think that's how it started because they needed somebody who was there who could take a ref bump. And I knew how to bump because I was training. Right. So yeah, I took that at like 15 or something, which is really funny. I don't know. I feel like there wasn't that many other people around me who reffed, but there might have been. Like I can't really recall. Because most people, I think they were just trying to give me jobs because they knew I couldn't debut at that point. They wanted to wait for me to get a little older. They were like keeping you busy
as
a part of it. Yeah, exactly. They knew I was competent enough, I guess.
Yeah, you built up like that level of trust where they can be like, you know what, like we can't have him wrestle, but he wants to be involved. We should let him be involved.
Yeah, exactly.
Very cool. Okay. So I want to get started on the show because we're going to be watching the full the first. We're watching season 2, episode 1! Watching in the chat if you want to watch along at home. We're doing it old school MSN style.
Right.
So I'll have you count us in if you want to give us the 3, 2, 1 go, and then we'll both start.
Okay. All right. Ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, go.
Perfect.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this down because I'm pretty sure it's loud.
We start with happy birthday.
I think it was Gabriel Force's birthday, Jay Wheeler. I should clarify, but everybody has a new character for this. It's not who they are in the indies. Right.
So explain to me a bit. So we got the opening credits kind of thing going on here. Explain to me a little bit about what Backyard Pro is, because you said you don't want to quantify it as wrestling specifically.
No, I think Forza had a good explanation. It's kind of like an SNL sketch show. Okay. It ended up being. It's wrestling, but the focus is more on the stupid, ridiculous stories around it.
Right. So it's like a variety show with wrestling rather than a wrestling show.
Yeah, essentially. Okay, cool.
So I know that you said that you started doing the backyard thing, but what gives you the idea of like, you know, like I'm not doing anything, he's not doing anything, let's just gather some dudes together and just screw around in my backyard?
When we were kids or now?
I'll go with both. Let's start with kids.
When we were kids, I just wanted to wrestle so badly. Yeah. It started in my basement, and then my parents were like, this is ridiculous. We're getting you a trampoline. This is dangerous. So I was wrestling on my trampoline, essentially, and then my dad literally built a ring, like a cube structure around it with turnbuckles and everything. That was dangerous, but it worked.
But it worked, yeah.
So I did that, even into training. I did that for like 8 months. Still was training because I still wanted to wrestle.
Yeah.
I was really the one who was mainly into it. I had like 2 or 3 friends who were still into wrestling, but once we got older, people started getting jobs. So we just kind of faded out of it.
That's how it always is, man. They start getting jobs.
And then now, my dad was laughing at me when I came up with this idea. Yeah. Ulysses and I came up with the idea, or Forza. Because it's literally like I'm doing the exact same thing as when I was a kid. Yeah. Because I made all these videos as a kid. Look down. And I was wrestling in my parents' backyard for one of the matches.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
I'm not a backyarder. Stop calling me. Stop tweeting me.
So this is our intro, and he immediately says, "I'm a professional and not a backyarder."
Yeah. So Mark Wheeler is the only professional wrestler in Backyard Pro.
Okay.
So in season 1, he faced Jay Wheeler, which was Gabriel Forza. Gabriel Forza is a big fan of Mark Wheeler because he's a real wrestler.
Got it.
So yeah, we started season 2 with Mark Wheeler quitting Backyard Pro.
Okay. So I assume that this is, like we said, you created it. This is kind of your, oh my God, he's getting kidnapped immediately.
I created it, but a lot of the ideas are kind of amalgamation of everybody involved.
That's what I was just going to ask, is how much of it is just like you sitting there, coming up with it, shooting it, editing it, and how much is it just getting the boys together and being like, what's funny? Like, what do we want to do today?
A lot of it was made in group chats, just trying to figure out what we wanted to do. I essentially, as soon as I came back from England, I I took my service payments because I didn't have a job, and I invested it in production. I invested in a camera, and I knew eventually I had to use this for something. And then when this came about I think we started filming it in end of May.
Okay.
That was the perfect use for it. And then we stole the intro to
it's just gonna be like, I know that 2005
song. Because that's 100% what backyarders do.
It is. This is.
So I literally remade the intro.
This is the like. It is a very. Because I remember watching like backyard shows when I was like a little kid, who was like just like I was kind of the same where I was like I just want to like absorb as much wrestling as possible. And I knew guys who did backyarding, and it is like this where it's like everyone comes out to let the bodies hit the floor, like every song has the same intro.
Yeah, that was literally our inspiration. So then I got Nug involved from Aftermath and RJ City to be our hosts of the show for season 2.
What a pair, honestly. That's such a great pair.
They're so perfect together. So it made perfect sense. And we literally filmed it in a backyard, but made it look like it was like a studio.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
It's
and then my girlfriend did all the graphics, so you can thank her for the good graphics.
I was going to ask who did the graphics, because these are like... This is the only part that's breaking my immersion, is that these graphics are so good.
Well, that was also the problem. Like, I had such a chip on my shoulder because I feel like Ontario indie companies, not many of them use production to their advantage to make content. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I need to show these people that it works. If you make content, people will come.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's interesting too. And I think you can probably speak to this as well. Like, when you look at the Canadian indie scene, like it's a lot smaller, but there's all this talent that goes all over the world. And but the shows are still like, we just ran a show in a Legion, like we might record it, it might go on YouTube, and that's it.
It might be recorded, you might not. Like a lot of us film our own matches on our phones because we sometimes never get the footage. It depends. Like I think since quarantine happened, a couple companies have stepped up the production, so that makes me happy. But who knows after, you know.
I'm Cyclops.
So that was myself as Jeff Hardy. I was literally just a Jeff Hardy knockoff was my character.
I love that.
Yeah. This is Kobe Durst as the Cyclops cyclist. He lost his eye as a like skip the dishes delivery driver.
So his origin story is that he was a skip driver who lost his eye and became a wrestler.
That's right.
My favorite part about this is that...
I don't think he's really a wrestler. He's a backyard wrestler.
Right, of course. He became a backyard, of course.
Yeah.
My favorite part about this is that these characters are like these jokey, like exaggerations of professional wrestling.
Oh, yeah.
But I could see this happening for sure. Like I could see showing up at a show and it's like... Oh, who's this guy? It's like, oh yeah, his gimmick is that like he's a cyclist, like that's his thing.
This gave us all opportunities to just try something completely different for characters. I'll never be Jeff Hardy on a show because that doesn't make any sense. I can't be Jeff Hardy, but something like a Cyclops cyclist, it could happen.
Yeah. So that's another good question. When it comes to doing independent shows and you're traveling all over the country and to different countries.
Yeah.
How often do you sit backstage and you're like, you know what? Like, let's do something else today. Like that. Like, I'm gonna bring this random prop to the ring and we're gonna try and make it work.
Sometimes it depends how ridiculous I'm feeling. If it's a show where I feel like it's like a fun family friendly show and there's not somebody important watching, then I'll try to do something ridiculous. Like I remember in England there was this giant love sign, LOVE.
Yeah.
Like these are huge letters, and I was like, well, I'm Vaughn Vertigo, I'm gonna walk out with the V. And I walked out with the V for my entrance and pretended it like it was my manager. I did like a chase spot where the guy was chasing me around the ring, put the V in the way, just stupid stuff like that.
So he couldn't punch the V because it's like your manager.
Yeah, exactly. And I talked to it like it was my manager, and the 100 people there were the only people who saw it,
Yeah.
I just enjoy having fun.
How often? So what do you prefer? I'm actually curious about between going to independent shows and going to like the big production, like a WWE show or like an AEW show, because they're totally different vibes.
Totally different.
Completely.
I kind of like the in between where it's high production, but it's still an independent where there's like 500 people sort of thing. Like C4 Wrestling is a good example of that because they always film good quality stuff now, or like Progress or something like that, or Attack Wrestling in the UK.
Right.
Obviously, I do want to be a TV wrestler. That's the end goal.
Of course.
But I love independent wrestling. It's my favorite thing to do. Like the intimate vibe of being with a crowd is it's the best.
Right. And so and in the last, I'll say probably close to like 10 years, independent wrestling has been steadily growing to a point that there are guys who are like, you know what, I don't want to go, I'm not going to WWE. I'm not going to anywhere else. Like, I'm just going to I'm going to travel the world and keep doing my own thing.
Yeah, several people. And then as you can see recently, like there's been so many people from the independents who have been signed. So who really is the top of the independents now? There's not many.
So what was it like? So first of all, how long have you been, you said you debuted in 2013.
2013, yeah.
So 8-ish years. So you've been around for the kind of the big boom of independence. Mm-hmm. And so what's that kind of been like for you starting out and then just growing with the growing scene?
I think I would have noticed it more if I was already a little more established when it was happening. Mm-hmm. I started with Squared Circle Wrestling, and they always drew pretty decently.
Right.
So I didn't really see that. But when I did other shows, like I go to Napanee or Kingston or something like that, and there wasn't a very good drawing town.
Right.
Then I'd be like, oh, okay, this is what I've heard about. This is what indie wrestling apparently was here. Yeah. Like I think like 2010 it started to ramp up. Mm-hmm. Pretty much when I started training is when it started to ramp up.
Right. So another good question I have about this is that you guys are all trained wrestlers doing a show where you are untrained backyarders.
That's exactly it.
So did you have to think about that?
Yeah, kind of a little bit. Like I think it yeah, I don't know. We had to like think about what we would do if we were untrained, sort of thing. It was kind of like reverting your memory to that. But I feel like we pick up on all those weird nuances the better you get trained at wrestling, because you see it more.
Right.
So we kind of like we can think about what the things we've seen. It was great to get Josh Alexander to pretend he didn't know how to wrestle. It was.
I was just gonna say, like, you have one of the he's a big guy. He's a big star too now. He's on Impact Wrestling every week. And
he came to us with the idea. So.
Did he actually?
Yeah. We had him involved in season 1, and he's like, "I'll do a match." I was like, "Yes, please."
Yeah, like done, signed. What do you want to do? Like,
yeah, exactly. And then it turned out being him and Kobe in his basement. He wanted to do it in his basement because that's what he used to do. So that was really fun.
I love it. I love the little touches, like you say, like they're pretending that they don't know how to wrestle. Yep. And so they're like doing these big exaggerated movements and like the little things that you learn as you become a better wrestler.
Yeah.
They're like purposely not doing. I think it's so interesting.
Yes. Yeah. It's cool to kind of tune into that.
Yeah.
I forgot about Kobe wore his helmet the entire match.
That's commitment to the gimmick. Also, honestly, Josh has like bat pantyhose on right now.
Yeah, I believe those are his wife's Jade's. Oh, I think he actually gets them pulled down. Right now. Yeah, there it is.
See, now that's just a wrestling spot. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, that's just a regular wrestling
spot.
Oh, for sure. And then the boxes, just throwing boxes at each other. That's so classic backyard wrestling.
Adam's safe.
Hits the insulation to drop the leg.
Hit the padded wall. Yep.
Get all the momentum.
Like 3 mats. Josh is like, well, I should probably put something down. He just puts 3 mats on the ground. Yeah, that'll work. And he takes the back body on it. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's commitment to the bit. Like, and
you're contracted.
So wait, so was he with Impact at the time when you were doing this?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
What a guy.
For over a year now.
What a guy.
Yep.
Truly giving back to the business, man.
Yeah, and this is at a point when I think season 2 we were allowed 10 people indoors, I believe, or something. Mm-hmm. So we kept it within the COVID regulations,
right?
In terms of how many people were allowed to be there. Obviously, it's hard we can't do wrestling without contact, right? So we had to kind of go far from that. But like I said, a lot of ours isn't wrestling.
Yeah, again, I think there's actually a really good mix of entertainment like that. Like it's a skit that just kind of has some wrestling in it.
Yes, exactly.
I said, get upstairs right now.
And it was a great crash course for me because I always wanted to make like so much content. Mm-hmm. And just being like, I knew if I ever did a promotion, I didn't want to do a promotion now. I wanted to do a promotion when I was like 30.
Oh shit!
But oh god,
huge pop up.
way of fixing a match.
Yeah, and then he says Austin Aries. That's right. I forgot about that. he made fun of the Impact match with Morrison.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, I love the commentator. I love the commentator just quietly in the background.
That's Scott Hunter from Smash Wrestling. That was another thing. I tried to get a bunch of different people involved, so people would only I get a commentator for this match and a commentator for this match, sort of thing.
Was she about to give her a bake?
Yeah, Scott Hunter was incredible.
It's I'm amazed at how much it feels like this isn't a bit. You know what I mean? Like it's such a good bit that if someone just sent this with no context, I'd be like, oh, it's a backyard. That's cool. Like that's.
And this is kind of all I'm hoping for. I just hope 10 years down the line, people watch this and you're like, wow, Jody Threats, it was in this. Why is she in this? This is ridiculous.
Well, like you said, I think it's a really good description saying it's like an SNL skit, because you watch the old SNL skits and you're like, holy shit, like
there's so many people in these. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ain't no bars. Moondog behind that.
Saber was great. I think Saber's actually just going to be Moondog now.
Beautiful.
So I like to roam the streets,
okay.
sleep wherever I want.
So, again, so you said a lot of them came up with their own stuff. So was it literally just you like messaging them and being like, do whatever you want, like we're gonna show up on this day and we're gonna just do whatever the fuck we can figure out?
Well, I get them to tell me the characters so I could think of like how to shoot like this vignette, for instance,
right?
Sort of thing. A lot of it was just kind of figuring out when we were doing it. But I think if Saber had Moondog like in the back of his brain for a while, so it just kind of worked out that way.
Did anyone come to you being like, you know what, I had this idea for a gimmick that I thought was kind of stupid, but like this would be perfect for it?
I had people from Ontario, like several people from Ontario message me with ideas for characters and whatnot, but we had to keep it tight because of the limits of how many people.
Right, of course.
We also had untrained people contact me and who didn't understand what it was. They thought like, oh, this is a backyard wrestling show. That's the thing. And I had to explain like, okay, who you trained by, like, we're trained professionals pretending to be backyarders.
Yeah. You had to break kayfabe for them. Like,
yeah, exactly. I forgot I had to drive that Stratos' car because I won it in the first season.
You won his car?
Yeah, it was the titles for what was it? It was my 3 championships versus his car on the line. And they were both the car keys and the titles were hanging. We both switched, sort of thing. Yeah, that was ridiculous. This was especially ridiculous because we knew a girl from she was part of Border City Wrestling, Holly.
Okay.
And she's like, hey, my dad owns this mini putt course in Windsor. She said this around the first season. We're like, okay, we have to do something with that.
Yeah. You can't let an open mini putt course go to waste.
No, and literally, so when we filmed it, there was nobody on the mini putt course. There were people at the driving range.
Right.
We literally had the mini putt course to ourselves in the rain, but we wanted to do as quick as possible. The other matches have takes in between where you cuts. This match is all one take.
This is all one take?
Yeah, there's one in the first season that's all one take too. Originally, I wanted everything one take, but it didn't work out that way.
Yeah, you know, that's the actual side of live production is where dreams go to die. Like that's, I think people don't understand that you come into things with so many great ideas, and then half of them are either like you can't do them, or especially in COVID, like.
Yeah, exactly. And this is also like any match I had to do, I had to pass off my camera to somebody else to film it, right? So
who's filming here?
I don't actually remember his name. He was from Windsor, though. He did some filming for Border City Wrestling. Thankfully. And another thing is that this was all funded by the fans in Ontario. So that was nice. So we had a donation of, I think, something like $1,300 for each season, and then most of the first season ended up going to charity anyways. But I wanted to make sure I got everybody covered. I didn't want anybody to wrestle for free.
Right.
Wrestle.
I was gonna say, it's funny because immediately it's again the bit is so good that we've circled back that like some people are working independent shows for free, and meanwhile you're just getting like you're fighting a dude on a golf course in Windsor, and you're like you got to get paid for that though. Like
all I want to do is that I just wanted to prove that production can make money. That's all I had to prove. And then our first episode from season 1 has like 5,000 views, and like I was blown out of the way when we aired it live, and there was like 160 people watching. I couldn't believe it.
That's
the
gotta
viewership
feel
went down
good.
from there. It felt great.
It
was
always
awesome.
does.
I had so many messages that night that were super nice. I just had to do it. I had to do something.
So
we'll see if we do a third season, and we'll see how it does.
So you go to this mini putt course. Did you like plan what you were gonna do, and like did you basically book a match and then go and do it, or were you just kind of like we're just gonna kind of do shit?
We kind of walked around the course, said we could do something here, we could do something here.
Mm-hmm.
We basically kind of our route was basically like hole 1 to hole 9 or whatever it was.
Okay.
We basically just followed the actual mini putt course, but we just kind of figured it out as we went.
Yeah.
We just had to like approve that, like, hey, can we use the giraffe and stuff?
That's what I was just gonna say, because I'm standing here thinking about it just like a production guy going like, oh my god, there's a giant fucking giraffe. Like, something's gotta happen with that.
We just tried to use as much as we could.
Yeah,
essentially. But yeah, a lot of this was just figuring it out essentially. Because I think we might have filmed another match this day. I had to go film something else. I can't remember what match, but yeah, this was a drive. It was worth it. It was worth driving like 4 hours to do this match.
Yeah, again, if someone like when you're doing something like this and someone goes like, yo, do you just want free time on a golf course to fuck around? Like, yes.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
we'll figure it out.
When do you get this opportunity? Right?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was just gonna say. Like, there's people who would dream to have an empty mini putt course to do something in.
I know. I also don't think there's ever been a wrestling match at a mini putt course. Who knows? With DDT in Japan, they might have.
I was about to say there's someone might have, but
I don't think I can ever prove it, to be honest. So
yeah, exactly.
I'll just leave it up on YouTube and see what happens.
Someday you'll get big, and they'll be publishing your documentary, and then this will be the clips they show. And they'll just be like, you'll be like, I was the first person to ever do a full match. This will be the reason. This will be the reason I don't get big, because they'll look at this and they'll say, "Oh, he's a backyarder." He's a backyarder. So that's a good question too. How often do you see people actually transition from backyarding to wrestling? Because everyone gets into backyarding with the idea of wanting to be wrestlers.
Looks like he's taking off.
I think it's pretty often. I just think a lot of people are very quiet about backyard wrestling. I definitely didn't tell the people when I was training that I was backyard wrestling,
right?
Because it was so frowned upon now, or frowned upon then. I think it's a bit more acceptable now. Not that you should do it, but there's a lot you pick up from it. Like, so many moves I knew the motion from just from doing it on my trampoline, sort of thing. Yeah, obviously it's different. It's different in the ring, but yeah. Oh, in the bush.
In the bush, dear God.
Yeah. What a dangerous maneuver. All the like water flew off in my face.
I was gonna say, it looks like it's kind of overcast. Was it raining? Like
it was raining, yeah. There's a few matches that were raining. Well, I had to work with everybody's schedule, right? So
yeah.
If that was the day, that was the day. We were
shooting
of course.
So how much do you think that backyarding helped you in actual like independent wrestling? Because you say like you learned a bit of the motions doing your trampoline stuff. Like, how much of that actually helped you learn and get to where you are now?
I mean, it definitely helped me come up with moves. Like, there's definitely moves I did on my trampoline, but I still do today. Just because I did it on my trampoline and it was just second nature. I don't know. Like, it's.
Oh, here we go.
Some things correlate, some things don't really. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
He's got the ball. He's got the putt. He's not for the shot.
Beautiful.
Oh, yes. That was like I think that was like the first idea we had to do that.
Oh, yeah. I was sitting here and I'm like, how long until someone gets a ball putt into them? Like, that has to happen.
Yep. Oh, I don't know what the hell that was.
That's a backyard move if I've ever seen it.
Ugh, I'm throwing enzuigiris on the grass. Why?
So how hard was this? Because I mean, it's slippery, it's rainy, like, you know, it's probably cold. You said it was in May. Like, I can't imagine it's.
Well, second season, I think we filmed in end of June, or maybe it was July.
Okay, so it's a little better then.
It was like a 2-month gap or 3-month gap between the two seasons.
Check out the black socks on sleeve Sorensen.
So
it was definitely
black socks and shorts. What an animal.
Yeah, I think it was like a colder summer day that day.
Yeah.
Kick to the gut. Stop.
How much?
Because there was a thunderstorm later in the day. I remember that. So it got humid.
How much do you have to take into account, like, the terrain you're wrestling? Even like like right now, obviously it's outside and it's rainy, so that's right.
Yeah.
But like, even just the difference in rings and stuff, like how does that affect what you do?
It affects it a lot. Like I tell the story all the time where Brent Banks came to the UK with me for 6 weeks last year.
Right.
Or sorry, 2 years ago now. It's 2019. We wrestled for Attack Wrestling in this converted barn into a bar.
Mm-hmm.
And the ring was, I think, it was somewhere between 12 to 14 feet. It was something really small. Right. I'd never wrestled in it before. We went back to London, flew out to Milan, Italy, for a show the next day and wrestled in a 22-foot ring.
Wow.
And it was like a world of difference. It was so weird. And 22, 20-foot rings are hard to find on the indies.
Okay.
Usually it's a 16 or 18-foot ring.
Okay.
And 22 was like, I had never wrestled anything like that before.
Yeah, I've never heard of a ring that big.
Yeah, Rising Sun Wrestling in Italy, 22-foot ring.
God love them. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, we did the rope spot with so dumb. Ugh.
I like that so far we've had 2 rope spots.
Yeah.
And no ropes, not even the semblance of ropes. It's a fence and insulation.
Yep. The other thing was like anytime there was a submission, it didn't matter what you grabbed. Like it could be a bush or like a fence. It was a rope break.
As long as you grab. I also like it looks like is he counting the pin on a golf scorecard?
Yeah, that was his idea.
That is phenomenal.
Yeah,
that is so funny.
Yeah, I think this was the storyline where I had this bad ref, and then I think it's a later episode. It's the same season.
Mm-hmm.
I have a ref that's a soccer ref, so I got screwed over by 2 weird refs because they didn't know what they're doing.
Yeah. I like the idea that you're doing in the context of the universe of Backyard Pro.
Right.
It's like I'm getting screwed by these referees while we're wrestling in a golf course.
Yeah, it's the dumbest thing. Oh my god. It was so fun to do all of this though.
This looks like fun. Like this looks like when you're watching a movie, you can tell the actors are having a good time.
Yeah, that's literally what it was. We just had a good time filming all this. Especially because it was nice to see everybody. Like nothing was happening, right? So
yeah, true. You guys got to it's like a little reunion, and then you guys get to go and just have fun.
And mind you, at this point, this was July or something, so I think August there were a few shows running. So
yeah,
it wasn't too much longer.
I remember the worst part about it is I was like, I can't wait to go back to indie wrestling, and then there was I think one show near me, and I was like, like for whatever, I think I was working or something, I couldn't go, but I was like, well, but it's going to be fine. Like there will be another one. And then they're just, everything shut down again.
Everybody shut down. What show was that was near you?
I don't remember. I live in Toronto, so.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
One of the independents.
Probably Destiny. I think Destiny was running.
I think it was Destiny.
Yeah, I was on that one. Yeah, I was there. You could have seen me.
Oh, man. I missed my chance at seeing Vaughn Vertigo live and in person.
That's all right. You'll get another shot.
So
I forgot. I completely forgot. Sorry, I just wanted to point out.
No, go ahead.
But Moondog here is wearing his weens, and I remember there's like a group of children over to the left, and they're like watching, and I just remember like being like, I don't like the attention, and especially don't like this attention in public, and I just felt so uncomfortable.
So that's another good question. When you're filming all these things in public, did anyone come up to you guys and be like, "Hey, what the fuck are you guys doing?"
Well, this is the only one we filmed in public. Really.
Okay.
We filmed vignettes in public.
Yeah.
But anything other than this was really just a backyard.
Yeah. So it was someone's backyard, someone's basement, stuff like that.
Yeah, it was somebody's residence.
Yeah.
This was the only one where we did in public. Which I don't know. I don't know if we'll do another in public. We'll see.
Oh man, I don't know. If you ever get another chance at something like this is phenomenal. Like I'm not trying to get
another mini putt course, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, Shining Wizard. That was the one move I learned last year was the Shining Wizard.
That was the move.
That was the move. I did it with Forza in our like little backyard match we had before Backyard Pro, and then I was like, I can do a Shining Wizard. Wow, I didn't know that. So this might go over people's heads, but this was Rob Banks from a famous backyard wrestling company called CHW. On YouTube. They actually behind the scenes they reached out to us because I just put the character on because I knew people online love Rob Banks. So I'm smart. And they're like, hey, yeah, they're like, yeah, absolutely, use Rob Banks. Just make sure you say it's CHW. We don't care.
Yeah.
So, like, absolutely. So he just became part of our roster.
So this is an actual backyard guy.
This is an actual backyard guy.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, Rob Banks. Probably the greatest backyard wrestler of all time, to be honest.
Oh, that was the smoothest thing I think I've ever seen in my life.
That was pretty smooth.
I was sitting here, I was like, what is in his sweater? What? And then he's like a magician in a movie. Like,
and he hits me with the twist of fate.
Oh, with your own finish.
My own move. So dumb. I remember he had trouble getting the shirt on here.
It wouldn't be wrestling, honestly, if there wasn't a spot that gets booked that takes way longer than it ever possibly should.
Yeah, exactly.
So he
always happens.
Puts it on the neck, goes in. That's a pro. Yeah. That's a pro backyarder right there.
You know what? It's backyard wrestling. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the other match is on this show. That was the
victory here.
That one.
So how do you decide so I assume you're the one deciding like how long things are going to go, like what's happening in what episode. So how does that deliberation go?
I kind of plan out like, here are all the matches I want to do. Here's the like stories that I kind of want to arc through it. Like season 2 was a lot about Detective Cookie Dough getting her championship shot. I think that happens in episode 2. Cool. And Psycho Mike wrestling The Rock in a Tungsten Man match, which is an Iron Man match.
Right.
But it takes place over a fortnight, which is 2 weeks. So it starts on episode 1 and ends on episode 3. So as far as I'm concerned, Psycho Mike had the longest wrestling match of all time, 2 weeks long. And he actually showed up to the shows must have been running because he showed up to NSW and fought The Rock as if he was still in the match between the 2 episode dates. Like the commitment was amazing.
So he did the show. So wait, he did this, fought The Rock.
Yes.
Which I'm assuming is a rock.
I think that's actually what's next. So we'll see the first part of the match.
That's phenomenal.
It was the best. They had a match on season 1.
Okay.
And we were like, how do we top that? And Mike's like, we'll do the same thing, but we'll do an Iron Man match. I was like, he's like, an Iron Man match, but we'll make it 2 weeks. I'm like, oh my God. And it was perfect. So it was perfect because I made it 3 episodes for season 2. So you start on episode 1, a week happens. You can see them fighting in episode 2, and week happens and it's over. Mm-hmm. But in that period, we had him go to NSW and he fought The Rock before the show in a ring.
That's so funny.
Yeah, the commitment was great.
So was there any bits that you can think of that you like kind of thought you wanted to have happen and it just either didn't fit in or it didn't work out? Or
most of the stuff we figured out. There's definitely stuff I'm saving if we get the opportunity to do a season 3.
Right.
So I don't want to really delve into that.
No, of course.
Yeah, most of the stuff I was pretty happy with doing. There's definitely more character stuff I wish we had more for. Like for instance, because you don't really know how the characters are going to be received until you do it, sort of thing. So like Cornelius Rufador, played by Justin Sane, he played like this like super old guy essentially. And I've known Justin Sane for a long time. I never really thought of him as like a character wrestler, and then he came up with this character and we're filming the match and I was like, this is hilarious. Why didn't I think of to do like a vignette at the time? So that's something I got to save for another season.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, this is probably my favorite creation. Psycho Mike rehabbing his knee.
Psychotic Michael. I was going to say, I like that it's Psychotic Michael.
Yes. Yeah. He can't remember his name. This was my favorite thing. I just kept reusing the same ambulance shot over and over again because he keeps injuring his knee.
So he just keeps
literally the inspiration for this was like Triple H's return video.
I was just thinking that. I was literally sitting here. I was gonna say it reminds me of like an actual like that, like an angle like Triple H or
that's exactly what it was.
I've had surgery 5 times in my left knee.
That's literally it. And there's a lot of pretty much everything Mike did was his idea. Yeah. Because he's such a brilliant mind. And I was just like, I'll put it together. Absolutely.
7 times over.
Well, that's the other really cool thing about this too, is that like, so Psycho Mike has been in specifically, I know the Ontario indie scene for, forever.
A very long time. Yeah.
Like it's such a great way to spot, like you said that there was that guy who you didn't see as a character wrestler, and then he gets this chance to do something else. And it's like, you realize just how good these guys are. Just like they have the shot to do something fun and creative.
And I'm very happy with the people I chose initially to be a part of this. So.
Right.
I believe in every single person who was on this show because they're phenomenal at being an actual wrestler, but they're phenomenal at faking being a backyard wrestler as well.
Mm-hmm.
this was because I filmed like in season 1. We didn't have I had to describe the Fortnite. We didn't have a ring announcer or anything. We did it in post, and we didn't have announcers on set, right? So I was like, I'm just gonna film like a fake announce table for season 1, and then a fake ring announcer as well.
I love flicking the porch light on and off as the stage lights.
That's Mike.
Oh God, that's so funny. Oh my God, he's been attacked before the match.
He got jumped before the match. Yep.
Did you guys use the same rock? Like,
it was there. I can confirm it is. There is 2 different rocks.
Okay.
One called Hard Place. If you watch season 1, that will make sense.
Okay.
And then the rock.
Yeah.
It was the same rock. I can confirm that. And every single thing that we filmed outside of this little tiny backyard, we brought the rock with us for. It was the exact same rock. That thing was heavy.
I was just about to say, that's such commitment because you have to carry a goddamn rock everywhere.
You're telling me, like, I'm filming Mike here wrestle a damn rock, and it's the most entertaining thing I've seen in my life. I need to re-upload this or put it on Reddit or something. Somebody needs to see this.
Absolutely. Like, this is one of those things that I feel like that just it should be more places. Because again, it's I can't remember who said it, but I remember there was an interview where they were talking about how wrestlers should take as many opportunities to just make things as possible, like not specifically just wrestling. Because you can be the biggest indie wrestler in the world, like you can, you know, but then you're known to wrestling fans. But if you make something like this, then it's like you're the guy who wrestled a rock for 2 weeks. Like that's just funny. Like it doesn't matter if you're into wrestling.
It's just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Like you'll remember that, you know.
Yeah.
I just hope people look back on 2020 and just like, oh yeah, Backyard Pro was a thing. Like there was a positive.
Yeah,
you know?
Something good happened.
Yeah.
Michael is in trouble.
That's all I wanted.
Was almost down for
Brad was a great referee also.
I was going to say, I love like there's something to be said about how committed everyone is to this bit.
You had to, if you weren't committed, nothing would have worked.
It wouldn't have been as funny. It wouldn't have worked. Everyone is so committed to treating this like it's a very serious thing.
We all had to be real in this universe and take it seriously. If you watch, like Forza and I love watching backyard wrestling.
That's another.
You know, when we were at least able to hang out, we'd hang out and watch backyard wrestling. And the one thing we notice is that like real backyard wrestlers are serious.
Yeah.
They're so competitive and serious about professional wrestling. So we needed to take it seriously, even though we were joking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was for an object.
Was that his gun fill out?
How often would you say that you were filming something and you were like, so you go in it with one kind of expectation of how it's going to look, and you come out of it just being like, this is the best thing we've ever done. Like this.
Yeah, I mean, like this for sure, because I wasn't sure how it was going to work in season 1 specifically. Season 2, I kind of expected what we were going to do.
Right.
And then there's a tag match. The Cornelius Rufador, Justin saying the same thing. I was like, this was a weird tag match. I don't know how this is going to turn out.
Right.
And it was probably my favorite match of season 2. This was great too, but I already had seen what Mike could do with The Rock in season 1. So
yeah, this was a continuation of a bit rather than a whole.
This is my favorite story of season 2,
The Rock,
including the vignette of him getting hurt, and then in episode 2 you see him show up in other matches in the background. So he's still fighting The Rock. There was so much planning.
Yeah,
to this.
There's so much continuity.
So much planning for like stuff probably people didn't even realize, but I needed that creative outlet at the time.
Right. So how long did all of this take you to actually make?
Oh God, too long. I should have tracked the hours, but it was probably like season 1 was at least like 60 hours because I had to do everything from scratch, right? And I didn't really know what I wanted it to be in season 1 until I started editing it. Season 2 was a little easier, but there was an extra episode to edit.
Right. So you do all the editing yourself then?
I did all the editing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Damn, man.
I filmed everything except everything I was in. I didn't film.
Right.
Another.
Yeah, that was just my goal. I just wanted to prove I could make something.
Yeah. So since this, have you had any promoters come to you and be like, saw the backyard thing? Good shit. Like,
Yeah, I've definitely. I have a lot of people compliment it for sure. I have no interest in filming wrestling.
Right. Okay.
Because I am a wrestler.
Yeah.
Although with that being said, I do have interest in creating like character vignettes for people. Because I think that's something that would help. Like if somebody say, I don't know, like Alexia Nicole or something wanted to create a new character and was debuting a new character.
Right.
If they wanted to pay me to make this new vignette to showcase the character, by all means, I'd love to make that sort of thing. I don't want to be out. I can't be out there filming a match. People are like, "Oh, that's Vaughn Vertigo filming the match. I thought he was a wrestler. What is he doing?" You know?
Yeah, it's a weird look.
Yeah, I never wanted to mix those two things because I never wanted to be the guy to be known as like a camera guy, right?
Yeah.
Psychotic Michael is burying the business right now.
He's burying the Rock, dude. You can't bury the Rock.
Is that going to be enough?
Is that legal?
Psycho Mike.
It is enough.
He got the pinfall, didn't he?
True. I do also love the touch that it just says 336 hours in the corner.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to do a countdown for it, and I was like, I can't even. It's 2 weeks. Like, there's no way. It's 336 hours. That's what I'm putting.
Tungsten man match.
Oh, okay.
I can't compliment Mike enough. He's incredible.
I was just about to say it's I'm in awe right now, honestly, because you can tell he's literally just looking around, being like, okay, like what can I do?
I don't think he even really thought about it either. He just like, well, he brought like a couple things out, and he's like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah,
and then just did it.
I also like that so far there's been a steel chair just at every new match. There's just a chair like
somewhere. Yeah. There's a nice touch where instead of pulling it from under the ring, he pulls it under the gate.
Yeah.
We kept that recurring joke as well. I think Flores grabs it from under a tree at one point in a different match.
Cheers. There's just chairs everywhere.
Yeah, exactly.
Do wrestlers actually just have those chairs lying around? Because I imagine a lot of them get them from like for shows or from shows or whatever. Like you just have stuff like that.
I personally don't have a steel chair. Some wrestlers will like keep one in their car.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Never
Others
know.
probably take it from shows. Like I know, for instance, my trainer, like randomly there was like a Singapore cane when I was training. Like in the corner, we're like, hey, how'd you get that Singapore cane? Like, where did you get that from? He's like, I just stole it from a show. I'm like, all right, that makes sense.
Yeah, fair enough, man. You gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
Yeah.
That band off his knee, and now the sock as well. Strong are those scissors.
So
I forgot, but he put the surgery scars, and it's like a question mark. On
I was going to say, I noticed during the vignette, he just kind of drew them on.
Yeah, he just drew them on. We needed to have those ACL tears. Or both his knees, Cole. Come on. Give him a break.
So speaking of injuries, can you talk at all about like some of the injuries that you've gotten? Like, because I feel like there's a lot of people who know the wrestling exists, who know the wrestling's a thing, might know that independent wrestling exists, but I don't think people realize that it's like, you know, it sounds cliche, but it's like it's real shit. Like it's people jumping off of ropes. You know what I mean? But
there's a difference between getting injured and getting hurt, though.
Okay,
like I'm hurt all the time. I'm in pain because I've been wrestling for like 11 years or whatever.
Right.
But that's not injured. Injured is, you physically can't use that muscle or that you broke a leg or something like that.
Right.
I personally haven't had too many injuries. I've definitely had a lot of scares with my neck.
Right.
Just after taking something weird, or I've had like a bulging disc in my upper back, but nothing really, thankfully, too serious. Knock on wood.
Yeah. So where do you draw that line? Like, has there ever been a time where you've been like, you know what, like I need to take, like that, like my neck, a bulging neck, my shoulder, something on my shoulder. Like when do you look at it like I need to look out for my health?
If you're not gonna be able to complete a match safely, that's when you have to give it up. Like if your shoulder gives out and in a match, like you have to toss somebody, then you shouldn't be doing it. There's like a lot of us work hurt or slightly injured. I forgot he sprayed Brad.
As he tries to avoid
Because
Sauer.
we still want to wrestle, you
Right.
know. And there's ways around that. Like if it's a leg injury, that's really hard because you can't even run and hit the ropes, but you can still find ways to work around it.
Mhm.
Cover. 2.
Has there ever been times where you've shown up to a show and you've been like, and so say like your leg is hurt, but you still have to, you find some other way to get on the show, like that? Do you ever just start managing?
I show up and I'm not booked, or I am booked.
So like, let's say you're booked on a show and then you hurt your knee
Right.
2 days before.
Okay.
Do you still go to the show and try and figure it out, or do you just message the guy like, hey, like my knee's hurt, I can't.
Well, I might message my opponent if I know in advance who that is, and say like, hey, like my knee hurts. Is there any way we can work around this sort of thing?
Right.
And if that's not possible and they want to do something different, or the promoter had some sort of idea, then I would just cancel it and do something else or whatever.
Right.
Tears roll down.
It varies. Like I know there was one time where
What's he doing here?
we had a match at Barry. I wrestled Tyson Dukes. Reza wrestled John Greed, and he blew out his shoulder.
Okay.
And we had to wrestle at Smash later that night against Dark Order, Super Smash Bros. And he messed up his shoulder, so we couldn't do the match. So we literally went to the hospital, got his shoulder looked at, and showed up at Smash later on. And he's like standing there with the sling.
Yeah.
We couldn't do the match because obviously what happened, but we still showed up just to be like, hey, we're still here. You know?
Right now, he's down.
So how often do you get like an advance on what you're doing to a point where you start planning in advance? Because I know I've talked to some people and they say like, you know, I show up that night and they tell me what's up. I've talked to some people who are like, you know, I know 2 weeks in advance or whatever that I'm wrestling this guy, so I talk to him beforehand. Like,
it really varies on the show. Like if there's some like long-term storyline when you probably know what you're doing, it also depends on how close you are with the promoter and if how invested they are with you. If they're invested in you, they probably will tell you what you have coming up. I like to know who I'm wrestling because if it's somebody I've never wrestled before, I like to look them up to kind of know what they're doing.
Right.
Like where they've been, what they're doing. So I at least have some sort of knowledge of them going into it. For the most part in Ontario, we all know each other though.
It's pretty like tight knit.
Yeah, for the most part.
The Rock is crushing my scissors.
Yes, Michael, I understand. Thank you for the commentary note. It's
really hammering it home, Mike.
It's so good because he's just so good at
one of those boxes coming out with it.
I can't even describe it. He's just fucking around. Like you can tell he's just fucking around. But he's so good.
Deserves a job. He deserves a contract, and he's deserved a contract for a very, very long time.
Oh, I can't wait for when shows start up again, so I can go up to him and be like, "Oh man, I love that match with The Rock you did. Love that. Like I can't wait."
Thank you. Please do. I think this is the only thing he's done since quarantine. He only did Backyard Pro, so I appreciate that.
Exclusive. Signed.
Exclusive, yeah.
That's a signed man.
That's right.
See you next time on Backyard Pro.
Oh, RJ.
Don't see you next time.
It was good to get RJ in this as well.
Oh yeah, because he's another guy who's. I'm glad that he's starting to get some recognition now because he's just been an absolute workhorse for so long, and he's so funny.
He's so good.
So funny. Oh, that I don't want to hammer it home too much. I'm not even just being a host right now. That was phenomenal.
Thank you.
I loved the whole experience of that. If anyone wants to watch the rest of this, I really recommend you do. You go on YouTube, it's Backyard Pro. I'll put a link in the description. You can, again, if you're watching live right now, you can hit exclamation point watching, watch season 1 and 2. I'm going to as soon as this is done.
Oh, you haven't watched it? No, I'm just kidding.
I swear to God, I've seen clips. I swer to God, I've seen clips.
I hope you did because I worked very, very hard on social media to get stuff out there. So
that was the thing. Is that I saw. I've been following you, and I saw that the clips come up, right? And I was watching. I was like, "That's such a good idea."
It's hard to get people to convince people to watch it because you don't know what the hell it is, right? Like I know when we first announced it, people would. I would get message like I got like Facebook comments. People would be like, "Look at these untrained backyard wrestlers with their replica belts." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Like,
that's the epitome of wrestling, man. You worked it.
Clearly, we did our job so well that they legitimately believed it.
Yeah, you worked them all the way back to the beginning. Everyone thinks they're smart now, and you're right back at square one.
I guess
they think it's real. Oh, phenomenal. I want to get in. So we've got one more segment before the end of our show. I do want to get to our one. We have an audience question. I love taking questions from the audience. So if anyone out there is watching and you have questions for future episodes, I always post them on social media, so you can always check them out there. But people noticed, right? So I've got long hair. You've got long hair. People noticed that was the main thing I'd say that we have in common going into this.
Yeah, we're both two long-haired dudes. Absolutely.
People are dying to know, how does Vaughn Vertigo keep that mane looking so fresh?
Well, okay, let me tell you.
Yes.
Here's the secret. And most people will tell you differently, okay?
Okay.
Here's the secret that's worked for me. Some say it might be genetics.
Right.
Others say, it is what it is. I don't condition my hair. That's all it is.
Like at all?
At all. That's literally, that's all I have to say.
Just shampoo, wash it out, good to go.
Shampoo, yeah, wash it like every 2 days. That's literally all I do with my hair. I used to take a lot more care into my hair when I was younger and it was shorter, but as I've gotten older, I just use shampoo. I don't know, man.
Have never been more jealous of another man's genetics in my life.
And that's the problem, because most people legitimately say that to me. The girls will say, like, "Oh, you have such nice hair. You have nicer hair than me." I don't know what to tell people because it's legitimately just my genetics. And people be like, "Well, doesn't your hair tangle?" I mean, yes, it does, but everybody's hair tangles. Yeah. I think I just have like, I don't know. I just have like straight hair and it just works. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you like the long hair, or is it a wrestling thing? Like, if someone offers you a shave your head match, are you taking that shit immediately?
I think eventually I would.
Right.
Right now I desperately need a haircut, but I don't think I shaved my head.
Right.
Mainly because I don't know what I would look like. I've pretty much had long hair since like grade 7-ish.
Okay.
It was a little bit short. It was probably like this long in 1 year in high school sort of thing. But since like going to college and whatnot, I've pretty much just grown it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it comes down to, because I've had the same thing where every once, I don't know if you've had this, but you ever look in the mirror and you're like, I could shave it all off. Like, all the time. It could just be gone tomorrow. And just, what would that be? What's that world look like?
I don't know. I've used the bald filter on myself and I don't look good. Like my dad's not balding. So I think I have a pretty good shot at keeping my hair. But who knows?
I'm sitting here. I'm going bald at 24. I'm cutting all this coconut oil and shit in my hair every day. And you're just like,
I've never tried coconut oil. I don't know, man. Like, if this is what my hair is like now, then maybe I should try something on it. Who knows what it'll be then?
Listen, as long as you possibly can. I'm like the ghost of Christmas future. As long as you can, keep that shit, no conditioning. Whatever is working, do it.
I've had people stop me in the street. I'm talking like bald people. Walk up to me and be like, "Listen to me, man. You gotta hold on to that hair, all right?" And like, we'll just walk away. And I'm like, okay.
It's just a drive-by of like,
yeah,
I can't have it, so you must.
Like, thank you, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Did we become best friends? Is that the goal?
Yeah,
we became best friends, right?
I think we're getting very close to it. I think there's one last thing that we got to do.
In order to might ruin it, though. Who knows?
It might. And that's my favorite part about it, because it's time to get into the lightning round, which is my favorite part of doing the show.
Oh, God. Okay.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not good
at decisions.
Don't worry. Those are the easiest decisions you'll probably make today, maybe.
Okay.
So I have a prepared list of this or that questions, simple stuff, cats or dogs.
Just this or that. It's not something I have to think of.
Absolutely not. I would never make people think. I hate
Thank God. Yeah, I just want my little goo brain,
Yeah, that's the point. We watch something to get us into goo brain, and then you're in prime ready to give me your this or that's. So I've got my list of this or that's. I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock. I'm going to find the pen that I have. There it is. I'm going to put 1 minute on the clock. We're going to see how many of these questions we can get through in a minute. We're going to tally the score and see how close we are to becoming best friends.
All right. Oh, okay. So depending on my answer, that actually debates if we're best friends.
Yes. No pressure.
Oh, no. Okay. All right.
No pressure.
Well, I got to answer honestly. So.
I've got 1 minute on the clock. If you're ready to go, I'm ready to go.
Okay, I'm ready.
In 3, 2, 1. Cookies or cake?
Cookies.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Computer games or console games?
Computers lately.
Pop music or rock music?
Rock music.
Stuffed animals or dolls?
Do wrestling figures count as dolls?
I'll count them.
Okay, dolls.
Nice. Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Oh, hot chocolate or coffee?
Hot chocolate.
Morning or evening?
Evening.
Libraries or museums?
Museums.
Text message or call?
Text message. Don't call me.
French or Spanish?
French. I am kind of French.
Summer or winter?
Summer for sure.
Love or money?
Love.
You sap. Books or movies?
Movies.
That was perfect timing. That's our minute up.
If you love something, it's more important than money. That's what matters. I'm not just talking about like relationships here. I'm talking about anything in life.
I respect that.
That's how I look at it.
I'm chasing a bag to the day I die. I read a tweet today of some celebrity talking about how easy podcasting is and how much money there is in it. And so clearly I'm chasing a bag to the day I die by doing this shit.
All right, fair enough. I'll be broke as shit then.
I am going to tabulate the score. And while I do that, I want you to take this time. Tell the fine people at home what you're doing, where they can find you. This is your time to plug whatever you want to plug, my man.
Sure. What's up? My name's Vaughn. I'm in lockdown right now. There's not much going on. You can follow me on Twitter at NotEnoughVaughn, on Instagram at Vaughn Vertigo, Facebook Vaughn Vertigo. Don't add me as a friend though. That's weird. YouTube Vaughn Vertigo. And then for Backyard Pro, YouTube Backyard Pro, Pro Backyard on Twitter, and Backyard Pro Canada on Instagram.
Ooh.
Did you tabulate the score yet?
I'm working on it.
Are we best friends? Did I ruin it?
So
you're a coffee drinker, aren't you?
I am.
I don't drink coffee. I don't drink coffee.
Is that like a choice thing, or is that just like you just don't like it?
Kind of both. I never really get into it. I tried drinking coffee this year, because I heard it helps with like working out and whatnot, and just I didn't like it.
Yeah. Are you an energy drink guy? Like, are you a caffeine guy at all, or are you just like?
I'll drink an energy drink sometimes, like before a wrestling show if I don't have pre-workout on me. Or if I'm driving back from Montreal and it's 3 a.m.
Yeah. And
I don't drink them in regular life, no.
There we go. Okay. Vaughn, I want to tell you, this has been, I can't remember the last time I've honestly laughed this hard during an episode.
This was really fun. Thank you.
I'm so honestly glad to hear that. I swear to God, that means the world to me.
That was like the quickest hour. So.
Yeah. That's like my Rolling Stones quote. The quickest hour, Vaughn Vertigo. That's what that's going to be. I want you to know that I've tabulated your score using very advanced mathematics.
Yes.
And in the end, you scored a grand total of 7 out of 14.
That's 50%. I passed.
That's a pass where I'm from, brother.
That's a pass. So we are best friends then.
Yes, sir, we are.
Perfect.
I want to thank you so much for being on the show. I want to thank all the people out there watching live right now on twitch.tv/OldKingCake. We record kind of sporadically. Schedules are hard, quarantine, lockdown, and all that. But you can always keep a track on my social media at OldKingCake. I get to just have one because my name is weird. Make sure you follow Vaughn Vertigo. You follow him, Not Enough Vaughn on Twitter, Vaughn Vertigo on Instagram. You follow Backyard Pro on Twitter, Backyard Pro Canada on Instagram. You go on YouTube, you sub to Backyard Pro because it is phenomenal wrestling content. Even if you're not the biggest wrestling fan in the world, I highly recommend it. It's just a good ass time. I also want to thank our best friends, Isabel Wing and Seth Feldman, for the intro and outro to our podcast. Make sure you share the podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Google Play, Apple Podcasts. We are absolutely everywhere. Share them with your friends. Share them to your Reddits and your Facebook page. That is all the time we have for this week. So remember that your mom was your best friend at one point, so give her a call, and we'll see you next week.